You know that feeling when you're staring at a rack of shiny gear in the data center aisle, wondering if you're about to drop a few $1,000s on something that will sit idle or, worse, become a bottleneck? I get that hesitation. You've probably read a dozen spec sheets and watched a couple of unboxing videos, but none of those really tell you how the machine will behave when you're moving 4K video files around, running a handful of virtual machines, or trying to keep a night shift of security cameras fed with fresh footage. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's break this down the way a small to mid-sized business actually plans a storage deployment. The Synology RS1626xs Plus is a 1U, 4-bay rack mount unit that slots neatly into a standard 19-inch rack. It's not a hobbyist's desktop NAS. It's built for environments where every millisecond counts, and you can't afford to wait for a file to copy over a 1 GB link. The real question is whether its strengths line up with the kind of workload you have, and whether the trade-offs are worth the price tag. First, think about the kind of traffic you'll be pushing through it. The built-in dual 10 GB ports mean you can feed it with a dedicated high-speed lane, or you can aggregate them for up to 20 gigabits per second of bandwidth if your switch supports it. In practice, that translates to moving a 200 gigabytes raw footage folder from one workstation to another in under a minute provided you're using SSDs or a fast cache tier. For a video editing studio that needs to ingest footage from a camera rig and then serve it to multiple editors simultaneously, that throughput isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a productivity lifeline. The same applies to a small virtualization lab where multiple VMs are booting from the same data store. The reduced latency and higher I/O rates keep those VMs from feeling slow, even under load. Now, the 4-bay part can feel limiting at first glance, especially if you're used to thinking in terms of petabytes. But Synology designed this model with expansion in mind. The RS1626xs Plus can be linked to a Synology RX1225RP expansion unit, scaling the storage pool up to 16 bays without needing to buy a whole new server. That means you can start with 4 4TB drives for a modest 16 terabytes usable space, and later add the expansion box when your archive grows. It's a stepwise investment rather than a massive upfront outlay. The hot swap capability also means you can replace a failed drive without shutting the whole thing down, a crucial feature for any operation that can't afford downtime. On the software side, Synology's Disk Station Manager, DSM, brings in the usual suite of data protection tools, but the real kicker is that snapshot replication comes license-free. You can schedule point-in-time snapshots of your volumes, roll back an accidental delete, or even replicate those snapshots to another Synology unit for off-site protection. For a small business that can't justify a separate backup appliance, that built-in redundancy adds a lot of peace of mind. So who should actually hit the Add to Cart button? If you're an IT manager running a boutique creative agency, a law firm with large case files, or a tech startup that needs a reliable, high-throughput shared storage layer, this NAS hits the sweet spot. It's also a solid fit for a surveillance system that's storing multiple 4K streams 24/7. The dual 10 GB ports can handle the continuous write load, while the snapshots let you keep a short-term history without filling up the entire pool. Even a small research lab that runs containerized workloads could benefit from the fast network and the ability to spin up new storage without re-architecting the rack. On the flip side, if you're a home user who just wants a place to dump photos and occasional movies, you'll probably be better off with a 2-bay desktop NAS or even a simple external RAID. The RS1626xs Plus is overkill in that scenario, both in terms of cost and the need for proper rack space, power, and cooling. Likewise, if you're a gamer who only needs a NAS for storing a game library, the 10 GB advantage won't be fully utilized, and you'll likely end up paying for speed you never actually need. Speaking of cooling, that's one of the more subtle trade-offs. The unit is only 1U high, which means the fans spin faster to keep the drives and the Intel Xeon class CPU at safe temperatures. In a cramped rack with limited airflow, you might notice the fans kicking up a bit of noise, nothing you can't live with in a server room. But it's worth noting if your rack is positioned near a quiet office space. Also, to truly unlock the advertised 2,100 megabytes per second sequential read speeds, you'll want to pair the NAS with NVMe SSD cache drives. Without that cache, you'll still get solid performance, but the peak numbers are hard to hit on spinning disks alone. That adds a layer of extra expense and configuration work, something a buyer should factor in from the start. Another practical consideration is the